The following podcast series was recorded between January and December of 2015. Originally hosted on the Horophilia Podcast Network, it has now transitioned to the Podcast Under the Stairs Collective. Myself and Andy Blockley would like to extend our gratitude once again to Jason Lloyd at the Horophilia Podcast Network for giving this podcast an opportunity to stay on that network for a couple of years and accumulate hundreds of downloads and great communication with legions of fans. The next instalment of the Doing the Nasty podcast, looking at the DPP third tier movie list, will start January 2020. Duncan McLeish will be joined by Mark Ball, who will be replacing Andy Blockley on this podcast, and will release one episode each month covering two films from the Tier 3 DPP Video Nasty list. But until that season drops, please enjoy these archives.
Nasty.
They were called Nasties, and they were nasty.
Some of the things that we've seen are so horrific.
These films not only affect young people, but I believe they affect adults as well.
An extravaganza of gory violence capable of depraving and corrupting those who watched it.
I have never seen the video nasty. I wouldn't. I actually don't need to see what I know is in that film.
And welcome back to another episode of Doing the Nasty podcast. This is episode number 4. I am one of your co-hosts, Duncan McLeish from the podcast Under the Stairs, and I'm joined, as always, by the co-host with the most, the man from Big Horror and Little podcast. It is Mr. Andy Blockley. How are you doing, sir?
I'm really good, thanks, mate. Yeah, I obviously haven't recorded an episode for quite a while, but we will be back. We're recording this weekend.
You've become one of these podcast myths. You know, that all the new people are talking about, all the new podcasts are like, wasn't there a show called, Big Horror and Little Podcast? I'm like,
they used to be, yeah.
They will return. So you've been on holiday and stuff like that, haven't you?
I have. Yep, just got back on early hours on Monday morning, so first day back at work today, which sucks. But I'm really psyched, actually, for this episode. I've been looking forward to this one since the episode number 1, because this is the Cannibal episode.
Yeah, for all Cannibal episode. So, Andy has already given the cat out of the bag. This episode, like we told you last week, is 3 Cannibal films that all made the notorious prosecuted list. We will be doing reviews of Cannibal Apocalypse. We will be doing a review of Cannibal Ferox, and obviously the infamous one on the list, Cannibal Holocaust. We were speaking off air. What we're going to do is we're going to reverse the order of the reviews for Ferox and Holocaust. Now, the reason behind this is obviously one of them is handled, directed and crafted incredibly well. Another one is basically a carbon copy, which came out a year later and is not handled with the same finesse. And we don't really think it's fair to be talking about the one with the one that is slightly plagiarised.
Just a little bit,
yeah. Before talking about the one which is obviously the main conversation. So we will be switching them around slightly. It'll not affect overall list anyway because it's all self-contained within the show. Yeah. Andy, I mean, you were away for a wee while. Did you manage to watch any movies when you were away, or catch up on anything?
I've been watching so much Sons of Anarchy, and I'm now dreaming about Sons of Anarchy. I'm loving that. We've just started season 5.
Oh, right.
Not horror related, but there are some fucking horrific bits in it. Like the episode that we watched last night, I think it was in the space of like 2 episodes. Someone's daughter got set on fire.
Oh, yeah. Season 5 is brutal.
He basically had to watch his daughter get burned alive, and then another character had to watch their best friend get beaten to death in front of them.
Yeah.
So pretty horrific.
It's quite a satisfying head smash, mind you.
Good shit, man. It's some pretty brutal stuff in there. So that's pretty much what we watched. I watched Cannibal Ferox whilst we were on holiday.
Is that the first time you've seen that?
Yeah, I thought I'd seen it, but I hadn't. So yeah, that was the first time we watched that one. Then I kind of ran through Apocalypse earlier on, and we watched Holocaust yesterday.
Oh yeah, it's a feel-good film when you come back from your holiday.
Oh, it's great, yeah. It's just what you need. It's just the tonic you need after 10 days away.
I mean, this is one of the rare occasions where I can say right now I'd seen all three of these movies before. So
Okay.
This is one of these rare occurrences on these shows where I knew what I was getting into before the show started.
Okay.
And we did a review on my other show of Holocaust just last year, so that one was still fairly fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
Ferox I hadn't seen until they released a cut version of it back in 2001.
Okay.
So it was quite interesting going back to check that movie out. And Apocalypse I hadn't seen in, I want to say, about 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
As a slightly more recent one, purely because I was on a John Saxon kick at the time. I was trying to track down as much of his movies as possible.
Okay.
And when I heard that he was in that movie, and I was like, Saxon was in a cannibal movie?
Yeah.
No.
Even though he denies it, not denies it, but he basically says he was duped into it, doesn't he? He said,
Yeah, well, you can tell by his performance, and the man does not want to be in that movie at all.
he's phoning it in, but apparently, I don't even know if he's phoning it in. I don't know if he was just writing it in or something. It's terrible. But apparently, he just split with his wife, which is probably why he's a bit distracted.
Just spot with his wife and got duped into being in a film he didn't want to be in. It's like the worst year ever for John Saxon.
Got to pay them divorce bills. I'll sign up to this muck. I've got a quick bit. I'm just going to talk about 50 Shades of Grey just for a second. I promise it is related to the horror thing.
Oh my God. Andy, what are you doing here?
Okay, it's been banned in Kenya.
Has it?
Basically put on their nasty list. And distributors are liable for prosecution as they were back in the early 1980s in the UK.
Fucking hell.
So if anyone's...
I was kind of hoping you were going to tell me it had been put on like a shite movie list.
It's about 4 out of 10 on IMDb. It's not doing well.
No. I've heard it's not as bad. I've heard Mark Kermode, who's a reviewer that I admire quite greatly in the UK, quite a prolific one, said it wasn't as bad as people are saying it is, but it's not good. It's like that. Everything about it. The script's terrible. The acting's awful. The plot's, just it's plodding. It's nonsensical and all the rest. And I was like, yeah, well, still not going to see it.
Apparently, it's fucking really badly written, the book.
Yeah, oh no, I had heard that, yeah.
But it did massive numbers at the cinema. Mm-hmm. And I just think I wouldn't want to go to the cinema to watch what is basically a soft-core porno movie. Like,
it's supposed to be.
De Niro made that mistake in Taxi Driver. You don't go to sit like. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird. I can't imagine sitting there with like 50 or 100 people. I just feel a bit uncomfortable.
But the thing is, though, this is what they were saying. The book would be like full on erotica. Apparently, that's not what the movie. Because the movie still needed to get like. It still had to be distributed in this country, and it still had to be of an age limit so they could get people in to see it. You know
what the British are like. No sex, please. We're British.
Yeah. So, so yeah. Pretty much, I mean, whatever version is out there, it's not going to be a patch on what was written in the book. And I would I would go one step further and say, I mean, it's just, yeah, it did 240 million on its box office weekend, which is like ridiculous for this time of year for like a February release. Is incredibly high. But I mean, I just don't know who's going to see that movie. The story that made the papers, which would relate to the Nasties, is that apparently it played in a cinema in Glasgow, and that the end of the night resulted in 2 women glassing a man in the auditorium. So for our American listeners that don't know what the term glassing means, it's when you take a glass object, you smash it, and then you plunge it into a person. So yeah, apparently the 2 women glassed this man in Glasgow.
With erotic, he did that.
I love there's a meme flying around just now with the 50 Shades of Grey people, like the man and woman pressed up against a wall, and it's like something like 50 Shades of Grey, like erotic or something, and then it's a picture of Pinhead, and the nun chick with her throat open saying that's cute. That's not S&M. This is S&M. It involves chains with hooks.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I think it's called. It's mum porn, is what it is.
It's mum porn. Oh, God, no.
Middle-aged mum porn. 50 Shades of Grey. Anyway, I think we talked about that for long enough. I just thought it was interesting that it's been banned in Kenya in the same manner that things are banned over here. And I do think it's interesting that these filmmakers, I mean, with the exception of Deodato from Cannibal Holocaust, where he was actually charged with obscenity, it's always the distributors that are charged. The filmmakers seem to be immune from these obscenity charges, and it's the poor distributors, just the local video shop owner, that seem to get prosecuted. It's almost a bit cowardly, like they can't get the big people, so they just go for the little man, they go for the people. Yeah, I do find it a bit strange.
Well, it's easier to get conviction, but that echoes right through everything. The large corporations that avoid tax, Andy, don't get chased. The little man on the street who's due £100 to the tax man could face criminal.
Yeah, Amazon, Topman, Vodafone, freaking.
Yeah, the list goes on.
Yeah, help.
I love the fact
HSBC as well, you local scammers.
In the UK, and this is the last thing we'll make, because we went from 50 Shades of Grey to politics. That's what the Nasty show is all about. But the UK, the Independent posted an article on the top 20 favourite UK brands, like the brands that people have most respect or trust the most. And at number 1 on the top 20 list was Amazon, a company that has not paid tax in the UK for about 10 years. I just thought that's fucking hilarious. Do you know who was number 1 on the most distrusted UK brands list?
Right, go on.
UKIP, the UK Independence Party.
Ah, okay.
I was like, well, at least something's going right. I can live with Amazon being at the top of one if UKIP's at the bottom of the other. Yeah. So we have 3 movie reviews for you guys today, and we also have a very special competition.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Andy is very, very graciously, and I'm practically having to pry it from his cold, dead hands. He is going to be giving away his very own copy of Cannibal Apocalypse on this show, and after our review we will be telling you how you can win that, so make sure you stick around to check that out. Andy has been scrutinising every frame of that movie and comprising the most complicated, convoluted question ever. Not really. It'll be quite simple. We have no imagination this side of the pond. So we're going to take our first break. You're going to hear some promos for the network shows that we are on, and also some learned words from scholarly people telling you some information about our first movie review, which is Cannibal Apocalypse. And we are going to be right back after this.
My name is X.
And I'm Cootie.
Please consider us your high priest
and priestess
of satanic cinema.
Join us on our podcast, Kiss the Goat, which will drag your soul through some of the finest
and worst
devil movies of the last 50 years.
Devils and demons, exorcisms and possessions,
cults and rituals, dogs and cats living together.
Is that a devil movie?
Maybe. Sort of.
I don't know, babe.
We'll talk about it later. Join us on the Horrorphilia Podcast Network every other week as we don our hoods and cloaks and
kiss
the goat.
It's a hell of a good time.
I knew you were going to say that.
Of course you did. It's in the script.
The Italian cannibal genre was always going to be a hot potato for the DPP, and here this one doesn't let you down. I mean, there's some great stuff in this. I mean, all courtesy of Gennaro De Rossi, the makeup man behind Zombie Flesh Eaters. Entrails get ripped, and of course you've got John Morgan having his stomach blown out and the camera going through. But Cannibal Apocalypse actually does deliver. There's some great stuff in it, and it's one of Antonio Margheriti's best films.
My God, son, put it down. Cannibalism.
The Vietnam vet. The
Barricaded in the flea market, taking pot shots at the cops outside.
Okay, that's enough.
Wait a minute. Please try to understand. Listen to me.
While she was here, I had this urge to bite her.
To bite her, you understand? Like Bukowski.
Stay away. And welcome back. Okay, so we've got our first movie review of the evening, which is Cannibal Apocalypse. This is an Italian/Spanish movie from 1979, directed by Antonio Margheriti. Originally called, what was it? Can you remember is it Cannibal? No, it's Domini Apocalypse or Apocalypse Domini, which basically means Apocalypse Tomorrow.
Yeah,
they stole it from
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. Yeah, so basically they stole it from Apocalypse Now. They used Apocalypse Tomorrow. The Cannibal title was actually added later, because based on the back of Cannibal Holocaust and Cannibal Ferox. So it's Cannibal Apocalypse, but like I say, that was added later on. It was originally Apocalypse Tomorrow, like you say, a rip-off of Apocalypse Now. Released in July 82 on video and added to the famous list in July 1983. So it got about a year before it got pulled. Probably most famous for having John Saxon in it. Obviously John Saxon of kind of Nightmare on Elm Street fame and Enter the Dragon fame, which is one of my favourite martial arts movies of all time. So it's good to see him in it, but I don't think he really wanted to be in this. I don't think he wanted to be in this movie, to be honest. Apparently he kind of got conned into it. He said that he read the script, and because it was in like Spanish and Italian, he didn't understand the translation to English. Apparently he said it wasn't translated properly, so he didn't realise that it was like a splatter gore type film, which I suppose you can kind of believe because it was just called Apocalypse Tomorrow. There was no kind of clue at the time that it was going to be a cannibal type film, but he must have known. I think he apparently was going through a divorce at the time, so just probably needed to pay his bills. And we start off with some stock footage of Nam that really looks similar to the opening of the A-Team. Doesn't it? It's almost the same. I was just waiting for them to go in 1975, a cracker man or unit was sent in prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. I thought that's the same fucking footage that the A-Team used. So straight away, you know, this is probably pretty low budget. We then see some prisoners of war being found by this sort of commando unit, which is led by John Saxon. We get a pretty cool action scene with flamethrowers and stuff. And then we see some like prisoners of war in a pit who are about to be saved, and we see that they're eating human remains. John Saxon kind of reaches in, gets bitten on the arm, and then he wakes up. It was all a nightmare, and then we're kind of back in the city. What city is it that they're in?
I have no fucking idea.
No, just a generic city.
It's supposed to be somewhere in America. And it looks like every other portrayal of America we've seen in every other nasty movie thus far.
Yeah.
You're like, it could be any city in America. I don't know if that's deliberate, you know, to make you think this could happen anywhere around you, or if it's just they never got a permit to record in America. I don't know.
Yeah.
It looks. I think they're trying to play it off as like a Boston or a New York, but it doesn't look like neither.
No, that's it. Then there's a guy who's actually, he's the blonde guy, isn't he, from Cannibal Ferox. He's kind of he's been in the same platoon. This is the guy that gets rescued. He kind of realises that he's got issues in some kind of mental home or something. And we go to Saxon, who gets a bit peedy, doesn't he, with the next door neighbour. He was about 14, like this young girl. And then he falls for the best seduction technique I've ever seen, basically pretending that she's got a really bad pain in her vagina.
Yeah.
So he kind of goes, oh, let me rub it better. I thought that's genius. Never tried that before.
Oh, you're a liar, but I love you.
I have, actually. Oh, my balls are hurt. Can you touch him? Make him feel better. So Ferox guy, anyway, like rings Saxon up. Obviously now they're both back from Nam. He says, do you want to go for a beer? And then he agrees. Then that guy's in the cinema, and he's kind of seeing two people in the cinema sort of metaphorically eating each other. which kind of sets him off, and he goes for a bite himself, like literally, doesn't he? And then kind of does a runner. So we realise now that this guy that kind of bit Saxon's arm, you know, he's obviously got some kind of cannibal thing, and it's weird because I don't really know if you can call this a cannibal movie. I know they named it Cannibal Apocalypse afterwards, you know, just because of the fame of Cannibal Holocaust and stuff. But it's more like a virus, isn't it? Because as far as I was concerned, like cannibalism is more of a lifestyle choice rather than it's not a disease, is it? But in the film, it's like, you know, they're going around biting people, and the disease kind of starts to spread. He holds himself up in like a store where he gets into a shootout with a biker gang from earlier, which kind of leads to a police siege. And then Saxon turns up, and then he's getting a bit bitey as well. It turns out that he bit the teen on the leg, and she kind of liked it. Anyway, Saxon turns up to like talk his mate down from this siege, and the policemen catch him, and then he bites a cop. And then it all kind of starts to spread, doesn't it? Like they go to this sort of mental home where one of the other guys from the platoon is as well, and everyone kind of starts biting each other. And then more and more people kind of start getting infected, and then this is where the film kind of builds momentum, because there's like a bit of an epidemic then kind of starting in the city, where everyone's just kind of starting. Basically, everyone that gets bitten then turns into a cannibal and kind of goes on to bite other people. And then it kind of culminates in like a bit of a brawl with the biker gang from earlier. And then like the SWAT team turn up, it ends up in a sewer. And this is where it's in all the films we're going to talk about tonight. We've got animal violence in the film. This has got the most minor of animal violence, which it's kind of implied in mine, but I don't know. Even though this version I've got is meant to be fully uncut. Apparently,
is yours American? Is yours the American release?
No, so it's not going to be.
Yeah, so yours isn't in that one. The only one that has the 2 seconds of what you're about to talk about is the American one.
Yeah, I thought that. I've kind of realised this now, that in England we get releases that they call them uncut, but it's not. It's uncut as far as the BBFC are concerned. It's the most uncut version you can get, as with, I think I spoke about this before, I had to buy I Spit on Your Grave, the American version, to get the full version. So yeah, Cannibal Apocalypse, there's basically a 2-second scene where someone from the SWAT team sets someone else on fire with a flamethrower, and some of like the petrol lands on a live rat and burns it alive, and that's kind of the animal violence in this. Then we get like a really cool, amazing, like a shotgun through the stomach scene, which is really cool. Later used in Death Becomes Her. Basically used the same scene in that. And then Saxon makes it home, puts his uniform on. His wife's mate turns up and like bites his missus. Saxon shoots him, then shoots his wife, kills himself. Really fucking grim ending. And then the kids next door, which is the girl that he was kind of having a bit of a thing with, turns out her and her little brother, they're infected, and the mum's in the fridge.
Yes.
So bit of a grim ending sort of thing. And I think we're led to believe then that there's going to be this epidemic spreading throughout the city, but we never really get to see it. And I think that for me is where it's not quite the apocalypse I was hoping for. And I know that's going to be budgetary restraints, a bit like in Day of the Dead from 1985. They had much bigger plans for that movie. Didn't have the budget, so just had to be stuck filming underground sort of thing. And I think this is the same with a bigger budget. I think we could have seen a lot more carnage.
Yes.
So I'd quite like to see this remade, I think.
I think if anything, see, to me, what you mentioned about it being more like a virus as opposed to actually what we would acknowledge as cannibalism is probably exactly why it could be remade. I mean, what is still fairly big just now in terms of cinema is zombies. And what are zombies? Zombies are, I depend on, there's 2 schools of thoughts, but there is a school of thought that is a virus. And to me, this movie kind of feels like the director was dabbling with the ideas of zombie movies, which were very popular when this came out in Italy, but he didn't want to go fully down that way, and cannibal movies were starting to get a bit of notoriety, so he kind of just mixed the two together.
Yeah, it's like he didn't want to go full retard, he didn't want to go full zombie.
Yeah, he didn't want to go full zombie or full cannibal.
Yeah, so he did a bit of both.
And it's weird because this is one of these ones where when I look at it, I don't necessarily think it's a horror movie at all. It's certainly exploitation. It certainly has that kind of grindhouse vibe. But I mean, this movie is sold as being a horror movie and was sold at the time as being a horror movie because of the cannibal and the cannibalistic nature and the gore in the movie. But it kind of has this kind of throwback to kind of 70s kind of exploitation cinema, like that the Italians did so well. There are a few things about this movie that I think are pretty fucking awesome. The gore, I think, is pretty fucking awesome.
The effects are awesome. It's the same guy as Zombie Flesh Eaters, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can see it, like, that hole in the stomach on the guy from the shotgun, such a cool fucking effect. It looks seamless, looks really, really, really good.
Because the camera goes through it as well, doesn't it?
That's right. I mean, once again, clever, inventive. There's one with a circular saw where they start actually cutting through like a dead body, which once again quite liked it because it was gratuitously gory, so I liked that aspect. I quite like the fact that when the people do kind of turn or they are infected with cannibal, their appearance doesn't really change, so they still look normal. I think that's a really cool effect because then you don't know, like when that sleazy boyfriend, the friend of the wife who's been basically trying to nail her all movie, constantly undermining Saxon. You don't undermine Saxon.
Oh, is he not seeing Enter the Dragon? Roper will kick your ass.
He will kick your ass and then he'll fucking hand it back to you. You'll put it back on. He'll kick it off again. That's how fucking Roper deals with it. But I mean, when he walks into the room, there is no indication until he starts to look at her in a way which doesn't mean I want to be inside you, rather I want a piece of you.
Yeah, exactly. But it's good though, because there's almost like a nudge, wink, wink thing between the fellow people with the virus. Like they don't attack each other, do they? They know that the other person's infected.
It's like the faculty.
Yeah, and they almost like team up together at the end, don't they? It's pretty good.
I liked that. I thought that was pretty cool. The soundtrack to this movie is fucking amazing. Like 100% fucking amazing, but 100% should not be on this movie. It's like a 70s police. Fucking, it would be perfectly at home in one of the Dirty Harry movies.
Yeah.
It's just like total fucking American funk style, and I love it to bits. It does not. It totally mismatches against this movie where there's scenes of like physical sort of violence or gore, and then you've got a funk guitar playing and cha in the background. It's just it doesn't fucking go. And it's weird that they kind of meshed them together. That kind of threw me out a bit, but I do really like the score. I think you hit the nail on the head right away. There are two huge problems with this movie. One, the scope of this movie should be a lot bigger than what it is, and we acknowledge it's probably because they didn't have any money. The second thing, the actor who should pull you into this movie, the big name attached to it, is John Saxon. John Saxon looks like he could not give a tiny flaming rat about this movie. He's like totally uninterested, and like you said, there are documented stories that he was duped into doing this movie. He thought he was doing something a bit more, less genre and more hard-hitting. He didn't find out to the very end it was a cannibal movie. You were telling me that he was going through a divorce as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was. And like I say, it was called Apocalypse Tomorrow initially, and I'm sure they added the cannibal label afterwards because of, on the back of stuff like Holocaust. I thought, if we call it Cannibal Apocalypse, it sounds much better, and I think just it fitted in perfectly with the theme of the movie that they could get away with calling it a cannibal film. But even without the fact that it's a cannibal film, it's blatantly a gore-filled kind of exploitation thing, and he obviously he makes out he didn't realise that that's what it was, and that he was conned into it because he couldn't understand the script. Apparently the translation to English wasn't what it should have been. Which is probably bullshit. I think what's happened is he filmed this thinking because it's Italian/Spanish that no people in England or America would see it. And it's that whole thing, isn't it, where people back in the 70s and 80s were ashamed of being in horror films and thought the horror films were a load of shit. And I think that's what happened. He was quite happy to collect a paycheck. I think he just kind of thought, oh, fuck, this is going to get released in America and people are going to know that I'm doing this. And he was probably embarrassed, and apparently, he was going through a divorce, so he was probably in it just for the paycheck, and probably his personal problems amount a little bit to why he just seems a bit disinterested in this film, which he kind of does. Because like you say, even though Saxon's not been in a great deal of stuff, I really like him in the films I've seen him in.
Yeah, I think he's one of those actors that when he shows up in a movie, I'm like, that's fucking awesome, can't wait, bit of John Saxon.
Yeah.
His lack of interest in the role unfortunately pulls me out straight away, because he is our main protagonist in the movie, and if you cannot sympathise, get behind or follow him through the events that are happening in a movie like this, is just a disconnect. But I appreciate pretty much everything else in it. I love the fact that you were talking through the different set pieces of this movie. I mean, they throw everything at this movie. You know, we're going from Nam to a siege in a warehouse to a fucking mental institute to the sewers to you know, we're going everywhere. It's not all stuck in one location, which makes me think they did have a bit of a budget. It just wasn't. I mean, the budget at the beginning, those sequences, the Nam sequences, they must have spent a fair bit of money on that.
Yeah, because once the stock footage is kicked in, there's actually quite a good sort of war action scene. It's pretty good, and it looks good. It doesn't look cheap. It looks good. Like I say, I did enjoy it. It's just I think this is one of these films that I when I was about 17, 18, I found this website that basically did video nasties copies in NTSC American format, and this is one of the ones I bought. And I always remember being really disappointed with it, and I haven't seen it since. I mean, I bought it about 6 months ago, and I watched it then. And it is actually a pretty good film. I just think because it's been built up as this real like video nasty, it's not ever going to really live up to that. But if you look at it as a standalone film, it is a pretty decent film. Just for me, it had a lot of potential. There was a real potential for a massive, apocalypse, like the name would suggest. And the apocalypse never really happens. And I think a remake of this with a big budget could be amazing.
It would be better than World War Z.
I like World War Z.
I don't. Let's not go there.
I thought it was pretty good. Obviously, I don't like the CGI zombies. I don't really like CGI anything. But I thought some of the set pieces, stuff like on the plane.
Some of the set pieces were alright. Just the most mundane ending though ever. We'll talk about that another show.
Let's move on from that. And so this, like I say, this was pretty enjoyable. I don't know if you can particularly call it a cannibal film. Like you say, it's a kind of a virus sort of thing that gets spread by people biting. But it's more, like you say, it's half zombie, half cannibal. But it's pretty good. It's a solid little story, and the special effects are fucking great. If you're into your if you're into your practical effects, this is some pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think, I mean, it fits comfortably in that kind of ilk of Italian exploitation cinema. That's what they did best. They took a lot of ideas from other movies. They marketed them in ways which, in the classic fashion of exploitation, they market them in a way with similar posters or similar names to movies that did a lot of business in the hope that people would check them out. So they could make a quick buck off it, and this movie comfortably fits in that. It's probably better than a lot of the Italian exploitation movies I've seen, and it's probably better than quite a few of the ones we've already watched so far, which brings us to the final question, Andy. Is this one a slap on the wrist? Is this one community service, or is this one hard time? And we'll fling on another one at the end. Should it have been on the nasty list to begin with?
Don't think it should have been on the list. I'm at 100% certain the other two movies that we're going to do, what rating I'm going to give them. But this one, I don't know, because it has got some pretty good gore in it. But it's not, I don't know. I think it gets probably just a couple of hours of community service for me. just like maybe a week or something.
To me, it's a slap on the wrists. I think It's a goofy fucking movie.
Yeah.
There are sequences where I think had they gone a bit darker with it, like if they'd gone a bit darker with the Prisoners of War at the beginning, that could have edged it up. Had they gone a bit darker with actual cannibalism in the movie, then it possibly would have edged it up. It's a goofy, fun action movie that has tinges of cannibalism flung through it. It shouldn't have been on the list. It's on the list probably because there was a rodent death in it. It has cannibal in the title and it was a bit gory.
Yeah, that's the thing. If it had have been released under its original name, it probably would have never made the list, I think.
Yeah. I think it would have coasted by probably quite comfortably. So, sir, we're going to take a very short break. You're going to hear another promo for a show on the network, and then you'll hear some more learned words about the next movie we're going to tackle, which is an icon, probably one of the most infamous titles, not only on the prosecuted list, but in general on the Video Nasties list. It came out in 1980, was directed by Deodato, and it is, of course, the mighty Cannibal Holocaust. We're going to be right back to talk about this depressing movie right after this.
Well, Gary, here we are. Somehow we made it through here.
What? Where?
We're in the sequel, of course.
Sequel? What sequel?
Well, Sloppy Seconds, the movie sequel podcast. Come on, get with it.
Oh, that's right. Our podcast is exclusively about sequels, where the budget is bigger.
Well, we don't actually have a budget.
Get away from her, you bitch!
But the action's more exciting?
I don't know much about action.
Hey, you got a line?
Sure, man. Allow me, scum.
The babes are hotter?
Wait, there's babes involved?
How about some of this? So tasty and hard and firm that it just melts in your mouth.
Do the kills get gorier and more extreme?
Kills? Did we talk about this?
Never mind. So find Sloppy Seconds, the movie sequel podcast, exclusively on the Horrorphilia Network.
Because when all other podcasts are through, we're already thinking about part 2.
Ruggero Deodato's Cannibal Holocaust, one of the original 17. It was banned from the beginning of the Video Nasties era to the end. Lots of films with cannibal in the title were banned. The reason for that was probably Cannibal Holocaust, because it is still a gruesome, shocking, terrifying film.
Well, Cannibal Holocaust was one of the most notorious, and movies like Driller Killer and Cannibal Holocaust and SS Experiment Camp were like test prosecutions, really, to see whether a jury would find these videos guilty under the Obscene Publications Act, and they did.
Good Lord. It's unbelievable. It's horrible. I can't understand the reason for such cruelty. It must have something to do with some obscure sexual rite, or with the almost profound respect these primitives have for virginity.
And welcome back. So, movie number 2 of this show, the review number 2, and was one that was inevitable. When we announced we were doing this show, I suddenly realised that I was going to have to break a vow that I made last year, which was never to watch Cannibal Holocaust again. And I have done that just for you people out there. So, I am suffering for my art right now. Cannibal Holocaust came out in 1980. It was directed by Ruggero Deodato. This is one of the bigger names on the list, not in terms of necessarily the animal cruelty, because there are other films on the list which have equal animal cruelty to this.
Yeah.
I think Cannibal Holocaust just became the poster child for everything that Mary Whitehouse wanted to make sure we didn't see.
Yeah.
And they kind of didn't help themselves by having a cartoon on the front cover of Amazonian tribesmen eating the insides of someone.
No.
I mean, that's, and you know, in the background, a woman with a spike uppercut.
They could have used that one. That would have been better.
There are certain covers that have that as the standout image, and I'm just like, it's probably the most offensive thing you can put on the front cover. This movie is... Now, I've seen this movie a few times, and I've seen it in various different formats. Both myself and Andy own copies of this movie, but not fully uncut versions of this movie, because you cannot you can't buy the fully uncut version in the UK. There's still a couple of seconds cut out.
Did your version have the... because I downloaded a fully uncut version, and it's got a bit of a disclaimer at the beginning. I don't know if that's on yours.
Mine's like basically cuts right into the movie. I've got like a bootleg from a couple of years ago, as well as like a bought one. The way you know if your one is fully uncut is you should have the muskrat death on it. So if you saw the muskrat get a dagger pierced through its throat live on screen and the camera doesn't pan away, you have the fully uncut version.
Is there not more versions of that though? I think there's a version where you see it get stabbed, and then there's a really extended version, because this one that I've just watched, it's got this disclaimer. Let me just read you this. I'll see if this is on yours. It says, "We're presenting Cannibal Holocaust for the very first time in its uncut, uncensored original form, with all sequences photographed by the filmmakers, however offensive and repugnant, presented fully intact. What you will see will definitely shock and offend you. Nonetheless, it should be viewed as a disturbing historical document of a bygone era of extreme irresponsibility, which no longer exists and hopefully will never exist again." And the version that I've watched had a much longer version. It's actually a coatimundi that's killed,
yes, that's right.
Not a muskrat. Coatimundi is actually... a muskrat's even cuter, so that would have been even worse. But the coatimundi, and it's a much longer killing.
Yeah, it's a prolonged kill. There's a cut version where, as the knife goes in, the camera then pans to people. Oh my god! The version I watched for this show has a prolonged version, and to me, it's
uncomfortable.
It's side by side with the turtle death for me, actually, just because you can physically see the pain in the animal's face. But we're slightly getting ahead of ourselves. The synopsis for this movie is listed on IMDb because they keep it nice and concise. A New York University professor returns from a rescue mission to the Amazon rainforest, where a footage shot by a lost team of documentarians who is making a film about the area's local cannibal tribes. So basically... this movie is famous for a few reasons we've already mentioned, because it was on the Video Nasties list. The second reason is there is blatant graphic animal killings in this one, and it's not animal killings in the sense that you might think, oh, one shot with an arrow and dies, or one is shot. No, there is actual... there's scenes where you see animals... disemboweled, and Now, that's in this movie, and one of the other reasons that it's infamous is because of what happened in the aftermath of this movie, in terms of, which we're going to touch on at the end, in terms of what actually happened to the director Deodato after the filming of the movie. So basically what we have is an American university professor who is sent on an expedition to the rainforest, basically to try and locate a missing group of documentarians who went out to do one of these kind of Mondo-esque sort of styled documentaries about a particular tribe in the rainforest who were cannibals. And he eventually finds the tribe after much kind of to and fro and adhering to their customs. They finally allow him access to the camp, where he recovers the footage and makes his way back. He obviously recovers the footage and sees the bodies. Makes his way back to New York. And returns the documentary footage to a TV studio who are going to basically put this out to show, because this has been a big thing in America, is what happened to this documentary crew and all the rest. And what we get is the professor doesn't want them to put it out. They don't understand why he doesn't want them to put it out, so he shows them footage from the documentary, the found footage, because this movie is regarded as the first found footage movie, and it's not found footage as people recognise found footage now. This is found footage as in we are watching people watching footage which has been found, and not as in we are watching the found footage. So slightly different. And basically he shows them the events that happen in this, and then we follow through a series of film clips what had caused, what was the lead up to these documentary filmmakers dying. And then I mean, right, let's just get into it, right? Basically what these documentary filmmakers are doing is reprehensible. What they are basically trying to do is exploit the tribespeople to make it a more sensationalized documentary. And at first it starts with small things in terms of manipulation that they're doing. You know, they do kill some animals, which we will come back and talk about. But then it furthers on to murder. They actually murder tribespeople. They burn down a hut which had people inside it. They go off the grid. Their time in the wild makes them wild, and the tribespeople react in a way which can only be described as justified, but at the same time pretty fucking horrific. Because the one thing I will say about the animal violence in this movie is the animal violence completely sells everything else in this movie, because they put so much on-screen deaths. Yeah, it's basically it was two reasons. Deodato really wanted to create a movie that would get under your skin and shock you, and because he couldn't kill the actors and actresses, which I think if he had a chance at it, he probably fucking would. It just seems like that sort of guy. Not now. Not now. Nowadays, he's very apologetic about the movie, and he doesn't like what he did. But at the time, he was very exploitative. So yeah, basically the animal deaths in this are, one, to repulse you, which they do very, very well, but two, it's to sell all the special effects that come afterwards. Because if you see on-screen deaths of animals juxtaposed with fake deaths that are handled in a way, the special effects are really fucking good in this movie, by the way, you then start to believe, especially of the era, that these people have died, coupled with the advertisement campaign that came after the movie, which all the cast had signed something to say that they couldn't make any TV or media appearances for a year. So these people disappeared off the fucking grid, right? Yeah, Deodato basically got hauled over the coals at the end for a series of things, including murder. I've seen this movie a couple of times, like I say, various cut forms, Andy. This is the second time I've watched the fully uncut version. And at the end of it, I still feel the same way. I think that this movie is a hugely important movie. I think it is one of the last sort of movies from that era which could do what it did in this movie without being ripped apart and torn to shreds by all these organisations which have been set up since to stop these things happening. I mean, Cannibal Holocaust is in part one of the causes that you have groups like PETA, the RSPCA, etc., maintaining a watchful eye over any movie that uses an animal to stop this fucking thing happening. And his movie is one of the reasons behind that. But at the same time, there is a very strong political message hidden in this movie, which I think still resonates just as strong today as it ever does, which is how people will exploit people for entertainment. And our televisions now are full of reality TV shows where people humiliate themselves, will eat all manner of fucking horrible things.
Dignity at the door.
Yeah, for the sake of entertainment. And certain movies can capture that. Very few movies capture it like Cannibal Holocaust captures it. And this is one of a handful of movies that I've ever seen that whenever this movie finishes, I feel depressed as fuck. I feel slightly ill, and I ask myself the same question: why have I put myself back through this movie again? Because I know it's going to do that every time. Deaths of animals. I think there's six graphic deaths of animals in this, if memory serves. There's 5 or 6. I should have actually counted them out.
6. Yeah, I've got it down here. It's animal. You got the coatamundi, which is often people think it's a muskrat, but it's
a muskrat. Yeah.
A turtle is killed. Both of those are killed in the story to be eaten. Then a pig gets shot just because the bloke's a cunt. Monkey gets its head chopped off so they can eat its brains, and then a tarantula and a snake are killed by a machete. Yeah. To be honest, like the only animal death I've got a problem with is that coatamundi, because it suffers. Like the turtle is like disemboweled and basically like eviscerated, but its head is the first thing to be chopped off.
Yeah, I think so the fact
it's
that people
not suffering.
Yeah, I think the fact that the body's still moving, like while it's being disemboweled, I think that's the part that sticks with people.
Twitchy.
Is that its flippers are still moving, and then when they open it up, the organs inside are still moving. I mean, its heart's still pumping, even though its head's been chopped off. I think that's maybe not necessarily. I'm with you. The physical pain and agony and the excruciating torture on that coatamundi's death is horrific, and that's the reason. I mean, there's a reason that the quote unquote uncut version in the UK has a turtle death in it, but it doesn't have the coatamundi death in it.
Yeah,
because that one is just fucking. I mean, I know people. I know. Let me put this out here. I know Mike Murphy's listening, and Mike Murphy has a really cool podcast called Badass Boobs and Body Counts, which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah,
and he was giving us a bit of ribbon on the old thing on the old Facebook page, saying you're probably going to cry about the animal death, and no, I'm not going to cry about the animal death. I'm not going to sit there and claim to try and like inflate my ego or make myself come across as tougher than I am, that the animal deaths don't affect me.
Yeah.
I think you have to be pretty fucking cold to watch this movie and not elicit any sort of emotional reaction from seeing an animal not killed but tortured and then killed. I think it's pretty fucking horrendous, and like I say, I can understand why it was done in the movie. That doesn't mean that I have to endorse why it was done.
Unless you're a vegetarian or a vegan, if you eat factory farmed animals, they really suffer as well. Do you know what I mean? It's just not televised. Like 97%, I think, of animal meat is factory farmed, and basically, despite what the regulatory bodies lead you to believe, like they're force fed, kept in pretty terrible kind of cramped conditions and pumped full of antibiotics, and then some of them aren't killed humanely either. So it's weird. It's weird for me that because people obviously show so much outrage at this animal being killed on screen. I find that not fascinating, but it's like there's shit like this going on all the time, and it is just one particular animal that's killed on screen. And
yeah, it's because it's not held in front of your face, though.
Yeah, and it's fucking awful to watch, and it really made me feel uncomfortable. But I think what you were saying earlier, it's kind of right that if somebody didn't step in and say, right, you fucking can't do that on film, I think a lot of people would be using this technique within their films. Because it sells the realism of the other. I mean, I was kind of thinking the special effects in this film, I think, are so good, even without the animal cruelty. I still think it's really believable.
Yeah.
But like you say, the fact that you've seen real violence, it almost like does confuse your brain into then seeing, when you see the acts carried out on humans, you think, no, fucking hell, that's really realistic looking. And I think if they hadn't kind of put a stop to this and said, look, you can't fucking show this for films, I think a lot of people would use this and it'd just become like a normal everyday thing just to show animals being killed in films, to add to the realism then, of the human killings.
Well, the next film we're going to be talking about tonight is case in point.
Yeah, so just...
1 year later, it's amped up. There's animal deaths in that movie for the sole purpose of trying to outdo the animal deaths in this movie.
Yeah.
So it becomes a game of one-upmanship, and
that's it.
I mean, it's such a fine line, because I think this movie serves like such an important purpose in cinema, and I've argued this before, that I think this movie for you can say that if you've ever watched this movie, you can say it's appalling and you will never watch it again, and I would totally understand. I would shake your hand and say, listen, I cannot argue that opinion with you, because that's how the movie makes you feel. And on some level, I think Deodato wanted that to be... I don't think Deodato ever expected people to be watching this repeatedly. I think he kind of expected people to watch it once, be appalled and shocked about it, and it would go down in infamy. To me, it serves a really important purpose in that it is clearly an exploitation style of cinema that's been done here, but it is so well shot, it's so cleverly executed, and it has such an important message at the centre. Now, you could argue that the message at the centre, which is basically poking a finger directly at white people in general to say, look how you destroy and bastardise and use. Yeah, I mean, there's a message in there. There was also a direct poking at things like Mondo cinema in general. That's why when you listen to the soundtrack has a very Mondo-esque sort of Mondo cinema sort of style sound into it.
It's weird. Like, the opening music is like a weird cheesy soap opera that's sort of like eerily soothing.
Yeah,
that's really catchy as well.
Yeah, if you watch any Mondo cinema, that's the sort of music that's played in it. So the kind of cleverly plays that in as well. So you have that in there as well. But the kind of central message there, basically about even down to the point of and maybe it's a bit too ham-fisted at the end when you get the line, who are the real cannibals? Which is a bit, to me, that one's a bit too on the nose, but I can
I think they used the wrong word. Like, they should have said, who are the real savages?
Yeah.
Because a cannibal is just somebody that eats human flesh.
Yes.
And as I say, who are the real cannibals? For me, that doesn't make sense. I don't know if that was just because the director was not English. They didn't fully... I think the question, who's the real savages, would have made a lot more sense, because obviously they're meant to be the savages, and it's the white people. So using the word, who are the real cannibals?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I think it's basically a case of you get a foreign director and they associate savages with cannibals all the way through the movie. So that line, who are the real cannibals, is just who are the real savages. It's I mean, it's not an easy watch. It's not the special effects we're talking about are incredibly well done. I watched it with I got a friend to watch it last year from my other show, and he to this day will contest that the woman that has the spike up through her, that's a real death. And I've explained to him, God knows how many times, it's not. To him, that's a real death. That woman died.
Well, I was looking and fucking, it's good. I mean, she's so perfectly still. And it's meant to be, isn't it, that they fashioned like a bicycle saddle, like a small bicycle saddle atop of a metal pole that she sat on, and then she got a piece of sort of hollow balsa wood in her mouth, and then just looked skyward. But it's perfectly vertical, She's sitting perfectly vertical, so so her torso is kind of up the middle of this pole, and then the piece of wood is coming out of her mouth. And I mean, it's fucking clever. I mean, it's an amazing special effect. I don't think it's real. I do genuinely think that they've done a special effect, but fucking hell, for a movie made in 1980. Yeah. It looks incredible, and I tell you what, the castration scene at the end.
Yeah, what I was about to say. The guy's cock getting cut off looks, and it means so fucking realistic that every time it happens, I cross my legs.
Yeah, and you genuinely get a spurt of blood, like with his heartbeat jets out, and you think, fucking hell, like. I genuinely think I understand why he was hauled in front of a judge upon murder charges, because it's fucking realistic, and I watched it in quite a good, not a Blu-ray definition, but a high definition, good enough, and it fucking holds up. It totally holds up. And like I say, I understand why they use the animal deaths, but even you take away the animal killings, my brain would still be convinced that I was watching something real. I think it's fucking amazing, the special effects that they did. And apparently when this film was originally released, and it was like a really grainy copy, because you get a copy of a VHS, and sometimes it'd be a third or fourth generation copy with terrible fidelity. But even on high def, it's good. It's seamless. And the cock chopping scene, you can't really see where it goes from him standing there with his knob out to the guy grabbing his cock and lopping it off. It's like, fuck. Because I haven't seen this film for years. And I watched this again, and I mean, this is totally what you were saying. This is the poster child movie for the Nasties era. This was on the front cover of a lot of the newspapers. The video Nasties thing was, whenever a news story broke, this was the picture, like you say, it's a cartoon image of a tribesperson munching on what looks like some intestines, and there's a lot worse shit in the film than that. But yeah, this is totally the poster child for that era, and I think it's a really fucking good bit of cinema. I think it's an amazing film, and I actually really enjoyed watching it this time around. Just because I was almost a bit just blown away by it. It was so ahead of its time, this, the whole found footage thing, and the way the film's set up. I think it's great because it starts off as a normal kind of film. We're just following these guys through the jungle, aren't we? And like you say, it's we're showing the footage as the people in the film are watching the footage. And Blair Witch did, like you said, they kind of were the first people to do it. But I don't think anyone else has done a found footage film this good. This is the best found footage film I've ever seen, as far as I'm concerned. It's so well done. And I felt like I was watching a documentary.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the only movie that's kind of copied the style of it, which ironically was the next found footage film after this, is The Last Broadcast. The Last Broadcast is played as a documentary.
Okay.
With footage from cameras played in it.
Yeah.
So it's a similar technique. Blair Witch kind of redefines what we class as found footage, because it basically takes out the beginning of the story.
Yeah, it takes out the middleman, doesn't it? You just straight.
Yeah, it takes out. Yeah. All we get is a message at the beginning saying videos were found, and this is the footage that was found. And that becomes the template for everything we get after it. None of them are given the same sort of attention to detail and time that this movie did. And this movie, I mean, we can quickly cover some of the things that, I mean, there was massive fallouts in sets because certain actors were appalled by the animal violence because they didn't realise they'd signed up to this. Deodato was apparently very, very much a bully on set, and you will do what you're told and this will happen. Because of the campaign that they ran, and because, like you were saying, the realistic nature of the violence against people, Deodato was held up in front of... He was arrested first on various different charges, including...
obscenity, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, obscenity, which was a crime. I don't know if it still is, in Italy, and then they charged him with murder. He eventually had to get the contracts broken for the actors and actresses, who then made a public media appearance so he could get let off with those murders, but he was then still charged. Sorry? I was
just going to interject there. What he really cleverly did was basically make these people disappear off the face of the earth for a year to add to the realism of this movie, which is something they kind of did in Blair Witch as well. Then they had the real life documentary on the Discovery Channel, kind of.
Yeah.
So that was fucking clever. Yeah, go on, carry on what you were saying. Yeah, then they had to kind of pull them up and prove that he hadn't killed them, didn't he?
Yeah, but then he got charged with the girl with the spike. He got charged with her death.
Yeah.
And of course she's a tribeswoman, so he couldn't locate her. They couldn't locate her. So basically what I had to do was recreate how it was done by explaining that, it was this modified bicycle seat and all the rest. But in court they couldn't get the woman kept falling off the seat. So they still didn't believe him. And he luckily had been quite good with you would. He'd been luckily quite good at documenting the filming process, and he had photos of the woman getting the prosthetic applied to her mouth before and after, standing with the crew, and that's all that got him off it. He then had to fight a further 3 years after this to get his movie released, because it was basically, in Italy anyway, it was banned. He had to fight a further 3 years to get the movie released, and I mean, to me, it's probably when they talk about video nasties, and they put forward the case for what a video nasty is, and this kind of leads us on to the kind of final part of this review. To me, this is the definition of a video nasty.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I just think we've talked about the animal killings. Let's just talk about what then happens to some of the humans in there.
Yes.
I mean, there's some brutal shit. I mean, the thing we see before the footage is, I mean, there's one funny bit that made me laugh. I'll just talk about this and then I'll talk about the other stuff. You know, when the guy strips all his clothes off to like prove to the tribesmen, and they all like shoot at his feet with the blow darts.
Yes.
Remember that? When the American professor guy strips all his clothes off, he just gets surrounded by naked women grabbing at his cock. I thought, hang on a minute. How come that guy gets shot at and you're getting fondled by naked ladies? Mental. But yeah, I mean, before, like when the professor and the guide turn up, they kind of stumble across this like sacrificial, almost like punishment that this tribesman. And I think this is interesting as well. That I'll move on. I'll say what I was going to say. It's a tribesman basically raping his missus has cheated on him. So what he has to do is drag her out into the middle, like away from the tribe, rape her with like a giant pointed rock.
Yes.
Stuff like mud and spikes up her fanny, and then beat her to death with the rock. Now, I noticed that the woman victim in that was an American, or blatantly an American woman.
Uh-huh.
And it almost makes me think, could they not get the tribes people? Because I'm really fascinated as to how they kind of convinced these tribes people, because they probably didn't know what a film was.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They were a real tribe. They actually found a real tribe who would... They're obviously not a real tribe of cannibals, but a real tribe to be involved with this movie. And I'm just thinking to myself, if this real tribe has had little to no contact with the white man before, and then the white man shows up and says they want to do a movie, and then they see these actions happening,
I know.
How does that portray us as a people?
Yeah, exactly. And like I say, it's not a tribeswoman who's getting raped by that rock. That's obviously...
And that's graphic. That is a graphic, violent sequence. It's a horrible, horrible sequence.
It is, because he is genuinely distressed as well, because in the story he's been forced to do it by the fellow tribespeople, and they've said, if you don't punish and kill your wife for cheating on you, we're going to kill you. He is actually like visibly shaking and crying, isn't he, after he's done this? I know it's obviously faking stuff, but in the story that kind of, it really sends a shudder down your spine, because for me, like, almost the worst thing about that, even worse than the act itself, is that him and her, if this was reality, have got on that boat, sailed to wherever they're sailing to, and the whole time he knows that he's got to do that to her, and she knows that he's got to do that to her, and that's fucking chilling to me. Do you know what I mean? They both know that he's got to do this thing to her, otherwise he's going to be killed. So yeah, like beats her to death, throws her in the boat and just pushes it away. And that's only about sort of 20 minutes into the film, and you think, fucking hell, like if they're showing me this 20 minutes in, like what else are you going to show me? And like then it goes on. There's a forced abortion that looks very fucking real as well, where they like string up a pregnant tribeswoman, forcibly rip the fetus out of her vagina, and then throw it in the mud. And it's done like And then, like, the people who are such arseholes, aren't they? This, like, film crew who are meant to be
the most reprehensible fucking people in the world. And you see previous footage of one of their previous documentaries they've done.
And that's real, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. I think the footage in that is... The footage in that is actually, on some level, slightly... it upsets me a little bit more, actually, than a lot of what goes on in this movie.
Yeah.
It's fucking horrible.
Yeah, I mean, you see kids being thrown into the back of a truck dead. You see real life executions by firing squad. And again, like, that's just really exploitative, isn't it? Using that just to sell the violence that happens later on in the film. And also show that these are arseholes, because apparently, like, in the story of the movie, they kind of faked that, didn't they, to get like the story of the executions. It's basically showing that this group of people will do anything for their story, and if there isn't a story, they'll make one.
Yeah.
So they're just fucking cunts, like. And then, so you've got, like, the forced abortion that they're kind of running in and filming and going, "Oh, this is brilliant! Look at this." And then, like, you know, they set the tribes people's, like, houses on fire, and they're running. Like, one guy's, like, kicking a pig, and then he kills it. That's another one, like the real animal killings. And then you've got, like, a gang rape on one of the tribes women. It's just fucking, it's pretty, like, relentless, isn't it? And, like, we cut back to the group of people watching this footage who were just like, fucking hell, this is mental. And they're like, yeah, it gets worse, you know. And then it'll cut back to it again, and we see some more. And, you know, you get some catharsis when, at the end, the arsehole people who have been doing all this vile stuff to these tribes people finally get their comeuppance.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really make you feel any better, does it? Because it's just more grim violence. And she gets raped, like, in a horrendous way, where, like, two tribes people are holding her legs open, and another guy looks like he's in a fucking rugby scrum, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Just, like, railing her, and it's just like, oh, fucking hell, like, no, I don't really want to watch any more of this. It's a bit much, you know. But like you say, it's they're getting their comeuppance, but it's so brutal and it's so realistic. You almost feel like your senses are being assaulted, for the sake of watching this. You know, watching them get the comeuppance, which is good, because you think, well, thank fuck for that. I'm glad they haven't got away with what they've been doing.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty strong stuff. I mean, I've obviously not seen every film on the list, but I can't imagine anything else is going to really come close to this.
I have been assured, I have not seen the particular titles, the offending titles. I have been told that there are movies on the list where there is more graphic animal violence than in this.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And it's not Ferox. I mean, okay.
It's not Ferox. So
we
may have.
Sorry, I was going to say, I've been looking into, like, animal killings, because they kill something in Apocalypse Now, and not many came up in the list. So these have obviously escaped Wikipedia.
Yep.
Do you know what they are? Do you know which ones?
I don't know. I've just been assured that they're on there.
Be a lovely surprise then. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking, that you're gonna be really optimistic at the end of one episode, and then the following episode you will know which episode it is, because we're gonna sound completely bummed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think this one's academic. I'll kick us off with the grading first. This one is hard time from me, and this one should have definitely been on the list. I think there's no way you can't give it hard time, because they pretty much cover almost every taboo possible in this movie.
Yeah.
There is real violence on the screen in terms of what is conducted on the animals, and just in general, the deaths that do happen, the fake deaths that do happen in this movie, are of a standard which I don't think many films have ever even come close to.
No. Yeah, totally.
What about yourself?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I say, the animal killings where the animals suffering, they're incredibly hard to watch. It's a beautifully shot film. It's relatively well acted. There's really incredibly realistic special effects, even without the animal cruelty to kind of convince your brain that they're good. They genuinely are good. But the stuff in it, like you say, it covers everything. It's got animal killings, it's got sexual violence, genital mutilation, a horrendous rock rape that I've fucking never seen before, a forced abortion. fucking hell, it's like, that's it. They've done it. They've covered pretty much everything you could, they've ticked every box as far as a video nasty is concerned. It 100% should make the list. And I think we should just reiterate, just in case people are listening to our show for the first time, we don't agree that there should be a list, because we don't agree with censorship.
No.
But putting ourselves in a situation where, if we're living in a world where a list, is absolutely necessary, and obviously if you cast your memory back 30 years, this genuinely was a list in the UK, then this one, if nothing else makes the list, this one's got to be on there. And hard time as well. And I'm not sure if anything else. I can probably think off the top of my head a couple of films of the ones that might get hard time. But for this one, this kind of deserves to be our first film that gets hard time, definitely.
So we're going to take a very short break. You're going to hear another promo, and you're going to hear some more wise words about our final movie review, which came 1 year after this, but owes a lot to this movie. It is the Umberto Lenzi Cannibal movie, Cannibal Ferox, from 1981, and we're going to be right back to discuss it right after this.
Hello, have you ever heard of MSK 3000? Yeah, well, we ain't them. But we are movie fans who like to drink and talk shit about our favorite movies. So join me, your host Nudie, along with my co-host Jake the Snake, and special guest stars as we dissect our favorite, or maybe not so favorite movies, on the NFW podcast, otherwise known as No Fucking Way. You can catch us on Horrorphilia, and also at NFW_podcast on Twitter, or NFWpodcast@yahoo.com.
It's a typical Italian cannibal movie, and you have sequences in it, for example, where there's probably one of the most famous scenes is where Lorraine Dussel gets hung up by her breasts, a scene that seems to imitate a similar sequence in the Richard Harris Western, A Man Called Horse. But there's also poor old John Morgan, who suffered a lot in these kind of movies, gets his cock chopped off, basically, and the top of his head split open like a breakfast egg and the brain scooped out. So that's a fun sequence. Really, it's one of those movies that deserves its reputation, and most notably for the animal cruelty, because there's a killing of a pig and that sort of thing, which is the reason, really, that it's had problems, it still continues to have problems to this day with the censor. But, the uncut version, which was released back in the day, is still quite a collector's item.
Back to our third movie review and our final review of the evening. This is Cannibal Ferox. Now, this film, we've decided to do this one after Holocaust, just because it's such a rip-off, basically. This is also known as Make Them Die Slowly in America. This is an Italian film from 1981, directed by Umberto Lenzi, released in 1982 in August. And then added to the list less than a year later in July 83. Now, this is such a rip-off of Cannibal Holocaust. It almost doesn't deserve to be talked about. I mean, we need to, because there's various things in this that that need to be addressed, like the animal killings again. Like you said earlier, they're trying to kind of even go one up from Cannibal Holocaust, but even like the beats of this movie, the cadences of certain things, it's so fucking similar. They've even got like one of the same actors. In this movie, there's the kind of the thing where there's a guy that's using cocaine, because they're probably pretty close to like Colombia and places like that. You've got the people going off exploring, looking for cannibals. The slight difference in this one is that the arsehole people that have been horrible to the cannibals, the kind of the original group bump into this group. And they sort of into the movie, and then they kind of team up. The people that they meet initially kind of play the victim and make out that one of their friends got castrated and everything, and it kind of turns out that this guy, he was actually the one doing terrible things to the tribes people, and then it almost follows the same sort of revenge thing. It's just it's just not shot as well. It's not acted as well. It kind of tries to do everything that Cannibal Holocaust does, and it just fails. It just does it nowhere near as good. I mean, what do you think to this?
I'm going to be slightly controversial on this one. I remember watching this one when it got released officially in a cut fashion in 2001, when like Cannibal Holocaust, I Spit in Your Grave and all that finally made it onto VHS. I was working in a video store at the time.
Yeah.
I remember watching it the same week that I watched Cannibal Holocaust, and actually thinking that I'd watched the same movie again.
Right, yeah.
Just that I thought maybe this is one of these movies that, they released it didn't, Cannibal Holocaust didn't do well, not knowing the full backstory of Cannibal Holocaust at the time, that, it hadn't done well, that they basically spliced other sequences in and released it under a different name.
Okay.
Like Cannibal Ferox, just to put it back out again.
Yeah.
And kind of thought that I didn't like it. Coming back to watch it, I actually quite enjoy this movie. And I will probably more openly say that, I know what Lenzi said, that Lenzi claimed he hadn't seen Cannibal Holocaust before making this movie, which is a lie. Which is so much of a fucking lie. It's unbelievable.
I know, that's a lie you just can't tell. Like, no,
that's a lie that doesn't work. You know what I mean? At all, on any level. That's like the guy standing there with the marked bills that have been coated in some sort of resin on his hands that the police then scan over and say, well, why have you got the dyed coins there, and saying I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't steal this money. I mean, it's so blatantly you've been caught red-handed. This movie is like, in some sections, it follows, like you said, exactly the same beats. However, if this movie is trying to be political, I don't think it works. However, I do quite like the story in this one. I quite like the idea of these mob guys running away. Oh, well, why they would run as far as the Amazon to live when they could have clearly got away with Mexico.
It's a bit far.
Yeah, it's a bit far, but maybe they were too concerned. I love there are particular gore sequences in this one. There's particular, like, horribly painful sequences in Cannibal Ferox that make me wince more than Cannibal Holocaust, and one involves a couple of hooks through a woman's tits.
I don't know if it's because I saw how the special effect was done on that. On the special features on Zombie Flesh Eaters, it shows you how they did that, and I don't know if it's just because I know how they did it, but that didn't bother me.
All right, it gets me every time, because I just imagine let's put it this way, I've been tattooed on my chest, just above my man tit. I've been tattooed there, and it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. I've never been pierced in my nipples, but I've been told it's not pleasant.
No.
The thought of getting a hook placed underneath your pec muscle and then pulled right through the other side and hooked up is... There's just something about that makes me wince, the same way I think about, when I see a movie where someone gets an Achilles tendon slashed at. I get the same feeling. That kind of wincy thing you just did there. I get that when I think of that. It's just something that affects me.
Do you know, when it happens to James McAvoy's character in The Last King of Scotland,
yes,
and this is probably a good testament to how good his acting is, but that fucking made me wince. And I don't know, it's just I just don't really believe any of the gore in Ferox. And I did actually watch that before I watched Cannibal Holocaust, so it wasn't like I'd been spoiled by watching Holocaust, and then Cat Ferox wasn't as good. I don't know. I just think I don't buy it from her acting. I think with stuff like that, it's the reaction of the actor that really is what gets a reaction from me. I don't think she's that believable that she's in enough pain.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. I don't necessarily think the special effects are great in this movie. I just think that the violence that's acted out, I think, is quite interesting. I think like the choice of doing that. I can't think of any movie before Cannibal Ferox that would have had a woman having a hook through her tit. So it's that sort of thing, you know what I mean? Yeah, not necessarily it makes me wince because I imagine it, but I'm not meaning that it looks realistic, because when you look at it as a fake tit, I mean, it's obvious. It's discoloured to the rest of her body. So it's obviously fake, but like I say, the fact that they do that in there, it's such a... I can't imagine any tribes person doing that, so it seems out of place, and it looks like such a vicious fucking thing to happen. It's an entertaining movie to me. But it's not a heavy movie for me, in terms of it doesn't hold the same weight or gravitas as Holocaust. But that's I genuinely don't think that's what Lenzi was aiming for. Lenzi's back catalogue of movies is pretty much wall to wall exploitation. He did do some other things. I think he did. Memory serves, I'm sure he did a Giallo, which I've been told to check out because apparently it's pretty good. But he's another one of these well-rounded guys who did war films, he did fucking Western movies. You know, like the school of Italian cinema was that directors tended to do quite a few different genres. Okay. And I think over time Lenzi's come to regret Ferox as well. Right. Not for the same reasons that I think Deodato is regretting it. I've never read anything that says that Lenzi was upset about the animal violence or anything like that. There is a fantastic story that I was reading about, because basically Lenzi ended up completely with actors and actresses that didn't want to do what he wanted at all. He was just like, not fucking happening. And John Morgan, who's we'll see him in some other movies. He's in fact, if memory serves, he's in at least 2 other movies on the list, which is House at the Edge of the Park, and I think there's another one, but I can't remember. Okay. But he apparently was to kill the pig. Yeah. In the movie, and he refused to do it. Okay. Like, flat refused to do it. Would not fucking kill this pig. No. And Lenzi was like livid. Lenzi like, you will do this, and he wouldn't do it. Refused to do it. So what they did was they got his stunt double to do it. Okay. So there is a slight blip if you're watching the movie where it pans away slightly and then the pig gets hit, and then it cuts back to him doing it. And the plan was that there was going to be a bowl of pig's blood, and he was going to stab it with. Basically, stab it with a knife, which would give him the blood splatter. Okay. So it would happen off camera. Yeah. And his stunt double killed the pig. His stunt double held the bowl of pig's blood, but put his hand underneath the bowl. Okay. So on the first strike of the dagger, it went through the bowl and actually stabbed the stunt double. Good too. Like stabbed him in the hand. Just and basically, Morgan says that he feels that it was some sort of spiritual karma from the pig exacting its way back on the actor. There's also a really funny story I heard where when Morgan and Lenzi were having an argument about the killing of the pig, that Lenzi had said to Morgan, De Niro would do it. If De Niro was on this film set, De Niro would do it. And Morgan apparently said to Lenzi that if De Niro was here, he'd kick his ass all the way back to Italy. I mean, it kind of shows you. I mean, Lenzi didn't really give a fuck about anyone other than making a quick movie, making a bit of money, moving on to the next project. So when we're talking about how this is like a plagiarised version of Holocaust, it really fucking is. I mean, if you watch these 2 movies as someone that has never seen them before, you would be forgiven for thinking that this would be a sequel. It kind of feels like some sort of... It kind of feels like the Evil Dead 2 to Evil Dead, only not as well handled as Evil Dead 2. In that it has 2 actors from Holocaust make an appearance in this movie. It goes back to a tribe. This tribe happened to be cannibals again. It has like a scientific expedition of people. You know, so it follows all these tropes. It adds slightly different things, but it adds these different things in. And to me, overall, it's not a great movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I still think this movie is... I mean, it shines quite high above things like Blood Rights and you know, Axe and things like that. I don't mind Ferox at all. I just think it should call itself what it is, which is basically a version of Cannibal Holocaust done somewhere else. I love the fact that the film claimed that it was banned in 31 countries, when I don't actually think it was banned in 31.
Just a selling point. Just purely just a blag to get people to go, oh, bloody hell. Let's get hold of it then.
It's still not fully uncut in the UK though, is it?
No, I don't think it is. No,
I think you can get it in America.
The BBFC, basically, you've only got a problem with animal killings if the animal suffers unnecessarily. So for that reason, you're not going to find an uncut version over here. I mean, the killing of the pig is purely just to prove that guy's a psychopath, isn't it? And then just to show that she enjoyed watching him do it, and so she's a bit fucking tapped as well.
Exactly.
Purely for that reason. I mean, the other thing that's killed, I'm sure they genuinely do that when they go off. You know, they'll tie a small animal to a stake on a chain. So if an anaconda or something comes into the camp, the anaconda will attack the animal rather than the people, and it gives them a chance to, avoid getting attacked and gives them a chance to kind of escape or do whatever. So for me, although that was really distressing as well, because that little fucker suffers even more so than the Cotamundi, doesn't it, in Cannibal Holocaust? It's a much slower death. It's no worse than anything you'd see at 5 o'clock on BBC One with David Attenborough. Do you know what I mean? It's just the fact that the humans have basically forced that to happen, rather than, sitting in a bush waiting for 3 days to watch something get killed by something else. They've basically orchestrated that, haven't they, by putting the stake in, releasing an anaconda, and then filming, the inevitable death of the animal.
Yeah.
Apart from the pig killing, which is really unnecessary, but again pretty quick, and it didn't really suffer, I don't think. There's nothing in there that's too bad for me. And the gore, it just, it's weird. I watched Cannibal Ferox first, and even though I hadn't seen Cannibal Holocaust for about 10 years, I went, they're ripping that off. I remember. I think it must have had quite an impression on me, Cannibal Holocaust, like I think it does on everyone. It's not a movie you forget. I thought, hang on a minute, because I didn't realise it was a rip-off until I watched it, and I thought, fucking hell, they're really nicking stuff from this movie, blatantly stealing stuff. I mean, the special effect where he gouges the tribesperson's eye out, it's a bit rubbish. The bit where, when they chop his knob off, you don't really get to see it the way you do in Holocaust, and then they cauterise the wound, which I thought was quite brutal, to stop him bleeding to death, so they could torture him some more. But then they don't really torture him, do they? They just lop his head off in some kind of crude device where the top of his head pokes through a table, and then they lop it off with a machete, and they eat his brain. And then the girl escapes, doesn't she? Because there's a tribesperson. I mean, there's quite a sort of nasty scene of a bit like humiliation kind of scene where they get a tribesperson and they're threatening to cut her with a knife and stuff. That's a little bit disturbing, I suppose. And then that tribesperson lets the other woman go, and then we kind of see her, don't we, back in America. And she says, no, cannibals don't exist, because I think she kind of wants to protect them, because she realises that the cannibals aren't really savage. It's again, like with Holocaust, it's the white people, the white man that's made them savage.
And but the thing is, though, this movie has done nothing at all on the grandeur of Holocaust to get to have that sort of message at the end.
No, it's almost like just shoehorned in again, just to try and prove that we did it. We were trying to make a point here, and it's like, but you're just shoehorning a little point in at the end, aren't you? Really?
Yeah. It doesn't do anything to. Yeah, it doesn't at all. I sometimes get annoyed when movies do that. When I say recently, it was last year. I watched The Den, the found footage movie.
Oh yeah.
And I really enjoyed most of that. I thought the very ham-fisted last 2 minutes of that movie, trying to put over a moral point at the end, undermines a lot of that movie, because the movie doesn't need it. You just take it for what it is. It's fucking entertainment. To try, and that's exactly what Cannibal Ferox is. It's a nasty piece of entertainment which is out there to make a quick buck off the fact that Cannibal Holocaust gained a lot of notoriety for doing what it was doing. And so this is an exploitation version of an exploitation movie. So it should just the fact that they try and feel that they need to put that in the end only, in my eyes, makes me think that Lenzi, on some level, thought that he may, somewhere down the line, be held accountable for animal deaths, and he could try and pass it off as something to do with, no, this had this was a true artistic point, when it's not. That's one of the things about the movie that annoys me, is the fact that she tries to do that at the end as some sort of kind of statement to the audience about, look at the cannibal, look at who are the real savages, we entered their territory, and you're like, fuck off. No, wrong movie.
Nice try, Umberto, but
nice try, Umberto.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, it's like I say, it's not terrible. I know there's we were talking just slightly before we started recording this about how Lenzi copies Deodato here. Lenzi had what is considered to be the first cannibal, sort of Italian cannibal exploitation movie, which came out the same year as Holocaust, called Eaten Alive. Now, the funny thing is, Eaten Alive, to the best of my knowledge, doesn't appear on the on the list.
Yeah.
But Ferox does, which don't understand that.
Yeah,
it's stuff like this that makes the Video Nasties list completely pointless. If you know what I mean, because it's not fair and justified across the board. It's inconsistent in its approach. So, I mean, is there anything else you want to say about this movie?
I think what happened, I was just going to say, this is kind of guilty by association. But because Cannibal Holocaust made such an impact, anything else with Cannibal in the title is automatically going to go on the list, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a couple. I think there's still a couple to come up.
Yeah, Cannibal Man, I think, next episode. So yeah, kind of guilty by association, because I don't think this one should make the list.
Yeah, this will be right. Let's duke this out then.
I've just dropped that bombshell.
You just dropped that bombshell, and right. To me, this one isn't. I don't think this one gets the hard time. I think it definitely gets a slap on the wrists.
Do you think?
Definitely. Yeah, because I still think there's graphic animal death on screen. So I still think, from that point, I need to get. I mean, it's not just a slap on the wrists, because they actually killed animals in this movie in fashions which I consider brutal and barbaric for the point of entertainment.
Probably unnecessary, isn't it?
Yeah. So I would definitely say it's a slap on the wrists. The inclusion on the list is an interesting one, because basically it covers a lot of the same things. Holocaust is definitely on the list, in my opinion. This one does a lot of what Holocaust does. It just doesn't do it. It doesn't execute it as well.
No.
So it's how I define what goes on the list. Is it content, or is it how's the content executed? And I kind of feel that it's going to be how the content was executed, as opposed to having the same content, because we will see other movies with animal violence on it, with potential rape, with potential killings on it. I think it's how it's portrayed on the screen and how realistic it feels. This one doesn't have the same level of realism, so I would maybe argue that it shouldn't have been on the list, but certainly should have had a slap on the wrists. What about yourself?
Yeah, I don't think it should be on the list, just because it's just not executed well. I'm not convinced by the animal violence it's just unnecessary. Like you say, it is just to make a point of copying Holocaust and just trying to outdo it and do the same things as that. Special effects aren't that good. The acting's pretty shit. It's terribly dubbed. So yeah, for me, execution-wise, it's the execution of this that stops it going on the list, because I just don't buy it. I just don't buy what they're trying to do. It's a good temptation, but it's nothing that I consider too disturbing.
Yeah.
I would give it a little bit of community service. I'd give it a bit of community service, just because some of the stuff in there is quite nasty. Hanging someone up by their tits. Somebody does get the cock cut off, even though it's not really that graphic, and then you've got the unnecessary animal killing. So it elevates it above slap on the wrist for me, and puts it into the community service zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, of the three movies we've talked about tonight, we're in this enviable position actually that for the first time I can say I've enjoyed all three movies on the episode on some level. I mean, I'm not saying they're the most amazing movies.
No, but it's not been a chore for me, this one. Like it's been quite a chore, some of the other episodes have been in, and these are all watchable films. I'd recommend that people check all of these out, I think.
I would definitely throw a caveat in on Holocaust, though. I would say that if you are easily affected by things like cruelty to animals, or if generally you struggle with things like, and I mean, to be honest, you're probably listening to the wrong show if that's the case, but if you struggle with like kind of sequences of very prolonged and graphic rape, then Holocaust is not a movie you should watch. However, we will be covering other movies on this list which will have prolonged graphic sequences of rape and or probably animal cruelty, etc. So that's just food for thought at the end there. We're going to take a very short break. It's our final break. When we return, we're announcing a competition. Your chance to win one of the movies that we have reviewed tonight, Cannibal Apocalypse, from Mr. Blockley's own personal collection. If you're very nice, he may include a pair of his used underwear in there, just for the nasty factor. So we're going to be right back after these messages.
Hugh loves horror movies.
I like them cheesy, I like them gritty, I like them campy. I love them all.
He married Christy. She hates them.
I think they're senseless and upsetting.
Listen in as Hugh searches through shelves of DVDs, VHS, and Blu-ray.
There are too many of these movies on the shelves. We need to just start getting rid of them.
In his never-ending quest to convert his lovely wife to the dark side.
Come to the dark side.
In Christie's Horror.
And welcome back. So you've been listening to Doing the Nasty Podcast, episode number 4, where we had reviews of Cannibal Apocalypse, Cannibal Holocaust, and Cannibal Ferox. Well, that's a tough one behind us now, Andy, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Like I say, Cannibal Holocaust to me is a fantastic piece of cinema. It's just not for everyone. Interesting. Definitely an interesting set of films. So what we got coming up next time? What's next episode? What we got?
Yeah, so next episode we have The Cannibal Man, which is another cannibal movie. But I don't actually like, because I've been told there are certain ones on the list that have the word cannibal in them but are like Cannibal Apocalypse that have nothing to do with cannibal. So I don't know if Cannibal Man is a cannibal movie or not. I've never seen it. Devil Hunter, which I have seen before, and memory serves, I quite like that. And Don't Go in the Woods, which I've also seen before, and I did like that movie. So that'll be Cannibal Man, Devil Hunter, and Don't Go in the Woods coming up in a fortnight or 2 weeks.
Do you think we'll manage to get through an episode without someone getting a bit rapey? Because it's not happened so far, has it?
I think the law of averages dictates that there should be at least one episode where there's 3 films where someone doesn't try and get the rape on or look in a sort of suggestive "I'm going to rape you" fashion.
Doing the nasty, guaranteed a rape in every episode. Put on the promo. I get some more. Get some more listeners. Some sickos.
Oh yeah, you never know. The chart is into different territory. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this competition, Andy. I think people have listened through us talking about some pretty horrific cinema. To on the off chance own a piece of your collection of the macabre, and you are going to tell them what they have to do. And I'll be honest with you, you're practically giving this away, sir.
Yeah, this is for my Region 2 DVD copy of Cannibal Apocalypse. It's a little bit of a special edition. It's got a documentary on there, Cannibal Apocalypse Redux. It's got Apocalypse in the Streets, a video tour, filming locations. It's got about 70 minutes of special features on it, so pretty cool. So all you have to do is answer this really difficult question, and it's, do you want this? That's it.
Yeah, so if you send your answers...
Do you want it? Do you want this DVD? Sorry, Duncan, go on.
All you have to do is answer that question on our Facebook page. If there is more than one person that answers it, we will put names in a hat, and Andy will do a draw on his side. He's really good at he does really quite animated ones for his other show. That I think he could just do that. I quite like the hand mouth speaking.
Just to reiterate, it's a Region 2 DVD, which is Europe, but you can make most DVD players Region 3. You just Google the name of your DVD player. It will give you a code to type in. You type in the code on your remote control, and it unlocks it to Region 3. Now, you can't fuck up your machine doing this. It either works or it doesn't, and most players will let you do that. So if our American listeners or elsewhere in the world want to enter, I am quite happy to ship this anywhere in the world, so don't be put off by the fact that it's Region 2. If you can unlock your machine, or if you've already unlocked your machine, then please feel free to enter. Do you want it is the question. So just what we doing with the answers, just
even if you want it as part of some sort of weird collection of movies you don't watch, just to say that you won something from doing the nasty, you can still enter the competition. We don't care if you watch it after it goes out. We just care if you enter or not.
Yeah. So
what was that question again?
Do you want it? Do you want this? Do you want it? That's it. Should we? What is it then? Answers on the page.
Yeah, just post your answer on the page. Just I get the feeling that we're going to have a lot of posts on the page, either saying yes or no. But yeah,
well, if you say no, that's the wrong answer, Duncan. Oh shit!
Oh no! Fuck!
Oh no!
Andy, what have you done?
Oh well. Yeah, bollocks. Ruined it by giving away the answer.
Oh my god. So before we close it, we got some news this week, which blew my mind. We've been very thankful since the start of this show that we've been given a home on the Horophilia Podcast Network. Like I said, right at the start of our very first episode, both myself and Andy are huge fans of this network and all the shows on the network. It's a really good community of podcasters out there with some fucking great shows. But what Jason Lloyd does, the man that's responsible for the network, our overlord, or as I called him a couple of weeks ago, overload. And Matt over at Banana Laser had to tell me that doesn't make sense. And then I changed it to overlord. He posted they always do like a chart of the top 10 shows each month by month in terms of downloads, and for those out there that were keeping score, we put our first 2 episodes out in January, and both our episodes made the top 10 lists of podcasts amongst some of my favourite shows, which has humbled me to my very core, that both our episodes made the top 10 list, and that is... It's only because of you that has happened, so I just wanted to take a couple of seconds just to thank every single listener that's checked out the first 3 episodes of the shows. I hope you stick with us right through to November.
But no, that is amazing that we've got that many listeners. Yeah, that's it's totally blown me that we've got that many people listening this quickly. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and come and join the page, if only just not to win that amazing competition, if nothing else. But, yeah, it is pretty humbling, dude. Actually, yeah.
I mean,
pretty impressive in figures. That's cool.
Yeah, really, 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 really cool. And like I say, thanks very much. And we're going to be with you right through to November. This show is going to be every 2 weeks until probably the second week in November, when we will have exhausted the list of nasties. So, and there are tons of amazing films still coming up. So you've suffered some of the pretty bad ones, aka Blood Rights and Axe. Yeah, you've come through a Cannibal Holocaust with us, and just let us tell you right now, the best is yet to come with this show, and your support is greatly appreciated. So thanks very much for listening, guys. Andy.
Yes.
I think it's time that we let these people get back to their day jobs.
Definitely, yeah.
And we will be back in 2 weeks to talk about another 3 movies from the nasty list. Would you like to say goodbye to our faithful listeners, please?
Goodbye, listeners, and thank you for listening.
And remember, you can check us out at the other shows that we do. I do the podcast Under the Stairs, which is on iTunes and part of the Legion Podcasting Network. You can listen to Andy's show, which is Big Horror and Little Podcast, which can be found exclusively on the Legion Podcasting Network. Until the next time we speak to you in 2 weeks, guys, please take care of yourselves. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
They were called Nasties, and they were nasty.
Some of the things that we've seen are so horrific.
These films not only affect young people, but I believe they affect adults as well.
An extravaganza of gory violence, capable of depraving and corrupting those who watched it.
I have never seen the video, Nasty. I wouldn't. I actually don't need to see what I know is in that film.